Welcome to the Her Story podcast with Mandolin Freeland and Marcely Whippenden, plus special guests. We are dedicated to sharing women's stories from all walks of life. We will be diving into experiences, challenges, and triumphs. If you are a woman, then this podcast is for you, and we are so glad you found us.
Hello. Hey, everybody. Hi, listeners. Welcome to our podcast this week. We are really excited to have Alena as our guest. I want to introduce myself, Mandolin, and my sister, Marcy.
Hi.
And we have Alena with us. Okay, so Alena Taylor, I am blessed to be family with her. She is my husband's cousin, which makes her my half sister, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So we have known each other for years, and I just want to say that when I was dating Billy, we were pretty young. We were high school sweethearts, and Alena was so great to just take me in, and we became instant friends, and it's been just a fun relationship. We just went on a girls' trip to California, Newport Beach. I was there for my first time, and we went to Disney and had a blast. So
fun.
it was fun. Thanks, Alena, for making that happen. Um, what I want to share with our listeners today is an incredible story of triumph. Alena has come a long way. Her married life, adult life has not been easy. And I just love for our listeners, like the whole point of our podcast is to share stories. Everybody has a story, some more exciting than others, but the point is that there's always something to learn from each other, right? I feel like we have experiences for us to grow, but also to help others through a hard thing, or maybe it's to prevent something. And so, your story, Alena, has just in the last 2 years, you've been such an example to me and have helped open my eyes and prepared me for my next phase in life. And so, I'm really excited for you to share that with our listeners today. But let's just get started with who you are. Tell us about yourself, Alena.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and you're too sweet. I would say to tell you about me, I've learned that um, I'm an adventurer, I am a gatherer, and I'm a daughter of God. So if I was to introduce myself, that's who I am. I am also, luckily, a two-time marriage wife and a lucky mother of five, a family of five blended children, and I'm just super grateful to have them. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I live in Arizona. I'm from Utah and long to return to the beautiful mountains there, but
Yes, we'll get you back someday.
someday. That's the goal.
Yeah. Okay, so first marriage, how long were you married?
Yeah, so I'll go back a little bit before that, kind of leading into the life as an adventure, and give you an insight of who I am. I came to Arizona early 20s for a wedding, got lost on the way to the venue, found an apartment, went home and said, I'm moving to Arizona. And that was more years ago than I'd like to admit. That's kind of me. I moved here. I didn't know anyone. My very first Sunday at church, I attend the LDS religion. It was August, 120 degrees, I swear, and the girl passed out giving her lesson, and I thought, what have I done? I've moved to hell, but no, I didn't. I made 7 new friends that day. That's what my bishop told me to do, and as they say, the rest is history. So um, I kind of just made my own way here by myself. Met my first husband at church, and we were married about 8 years. We have three beautiful children. Um, and that was just not really an easy marriage from the beginning. We weren't really aligned or on the same page, and I lost a lot of strength during that time. Um, but eventually I've regained enough footing to kind of just say things need to change, and unfortunately that led to our divorce, or fortunately, maybe as the case may be. I think divorce is tough, and it feels selfish. And as now I've had discussions with my adult children, they will say it was the right thing to do. And I can literally look back and say my life um, has changed mostly because of me and the things that I learned from that marriage. I did come out a much stronger person, but strength in the fire, right? It was tough, and I learned a lot and came out a different person. So I was divorced for about 5 years. I met my husband, my second husband, who I actually knew in high school. We reconnected through some old friends. We dated in high school a little bit. At least that's what I would say. He might call it something different. He says we hung out, but uh, we make out buddies, whatever you want to call it. It's okay.
Okay.
Uh, Before his mission, and then after his mission a little bit, and then kind of went our separate ways. So his dad lived in Arizona, and we just got together for dinner. And as they say, the rest is history. We just reconnected kind of instantly. He lived in Oregon at that time when he came to visit his dad, and I was here in Arizona, of course. So we dated for about 2 years before we decided to get married. And it was kind of our intention for me to move to Oregon. My kids were still, Trinity was 6, my youngest, and my oldest was probably 10, and his were teenagers, so we didn't really want to uproot them. But as we kind of got into that, okay, we're going to get married, how's this going to look? And my kid's dad was really involved in their life, and I wanted him to be. And his kid's mom was very involved in their life, of course, in Oregon and Arizona. So we just decided there had to be a better way than to kind of rip our kids away from their other parents. So we decided to go ahead and get married, and we lived separately, him in Oregon and me in Arizona, for 6 years, the first 6 years of our marriage. And we've been married almost 14 now. So
Wow.
that was
Crazy.
chaos, a little bit of craziness, but we made it work. So
Well,
that was good.
time flies. I can't believe it's been 14 years since you've been married to John. But also, yeah, I remember talking to you and just thinking about you and thinking how crazy it would be to live in a whole different state. But at the same time, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of married couples that, he or she travels, out of state a lot for work. And so maybe it feels very similar. How often did you guys see each other during that 6 years?
We got to see each other once a month at least, and then more if we could. We'd spend at least a week or two up there in the summer, and then they'd come here for the holidays. So we kind of got a little bit of a snowbird experience, enjoying the beautiful Oregon summers and then Arizona winters. So that was kind of nice. It was an emotional roller coaster, I think. For me, at least. My husband is a very slow mover. So that actually turned out to be a really good thing for him. And ultimately, I think it turned out to be a good thing for our kids. They kind of, instead of having to have this immediate new family, they had time to kind of adjust to him and his kids being a part of our lives. And it was tough, but I would say there's a lot of people who, can't do long distance, but after being divorced and married and then dating again, like he's an amazing man and well worth the struggle of living apart and having a long distance relationship. He's just been an amazing blessing for me and for my children.
That's amazing that you guys made it work for 6 years long distance. And that's not just like a few hours away. Like Oregon and Arizona, that's a
No.
long distance. So that's amazing. What made you guys ultimately choose Arizona versus Oregon? Your kids were younger and his were out of school, or what was the decision on that?
Yeah, that's exactly. It was just his kids were older, so we waited till they had both graduated and moved out, and then he sold his home and moved down here. My kids were kind of in the high school phase at that time, so I think my oldest was a junior, and then Trinity was in junior high. So, we didn't want to move them, and the point was to keep them rooted and kind of put them first. So
I
that's why he came here.
I feel like um just kind of watching that process, I feel like it's probably a good thing because you were both so independent, at that point. And not only that, but came out of some rough marriages. And it's probably good to like be able to have that balance of like having a marriage and a good relationship, but kind of easing into it, right? And even for the kids.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, I think, better to kind of ease into it for us and our situation. A couple of really interesting things I think that kind of came out of that transition that I think can happen to any second marriage blended family. Uh, when John moved in, the kids really liked that he did things different and they kind of liked how he did it. And honestly, as the mom, I felt a little left out of my own family. It was really an interesting experience because I'm the mom and they love me and they're my kids, and to this day they still kind of gravitate toward him. Not that they don't love me, they absolutely do, and we have a great relationship. But his kids will gravitate to me, and so it's just been this interesting dynamic. And I thought that was something I really had to learn how to co-parent with him and still work through that transition together. And it was just an unexpected, weird feeling to be left out, like to feel like I was the odd one out because my kids were like, "Oh, this is so cool." So that was something interesting and different, but definitely blended families as a transition, and for us, a slow one was the right way to do it.
Yeah. Okay, so you've mentioned like your adventure side. I know that you got that from your Grandma Dawn, who is like our family's legendary human being. She's just amazing, and she was always adventurous, traveling up until her last couple of years. And so I love that spirit about you, and I feel like just kind of leading into what I really want you to talk about is watching you the last couple of years, just the change of like all of a sudden you are becoming an empty nester, your kids have grown up, and you're in Arizona, we don't talk enough, and so I didn't really see your struggle up close and personal, for a while, until we did get together and you kind of shared it with me. But you started going through some major changes. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'll go back a little bit to kind of give you a foundation of where I came from for that transition. I think I've struggled with anxiety my whole life. My earliest memory of anxiety was probably when I was 3. Um, my mom worked a lot, and there was just a lot of anxiety in my childhood. Kind of getting bounced around with her working. She was providing. I was her only child. She was a single mom, and so I was super fortunate to spend a lot of time with my grandparents, which was great. But that anxiety was became part of who I am, and I used it in my life to just push forward. And Mandy knows, growing up, I was the oldest cousin. I was the driver. I felt very responsible, and I wasn't always the nicest. I had no siblings, so I was just kind of rough around the edges. And
Alena is the boss, and you want to. Sometimes you go to dinner with her, and you want to hide under the table when
yeah,
she tells the waitress exactly how.
yeah,
And it's like, okay, you know what? Alena's going to take care of me. She's not afraid to say something. So
yeah.
love you for that.
John, my family has called it "go do the Alena thing." Yeah, that's me. So I've used that to drive myself. And as a single mom, that anxiety helped me a ton to be able to provide for my family. I just get a lot of stuff done in a very quick period of time. But my sweet husband would say I left a wake behind me. I'm just blazing the trail. And I think my family growing up felt that kind of wake. And then, my husband felt the wake. And I think by that he means he's left behind picking up the pieces, right? Like, oh, I overcommitted myself. I was always late. I was just run, run, run. And as my kids grew older, um, my first one left, and I think it was like a deep breath, like, "Whew, I did it. Okay." And then I have two left, and they're only 18 months apart. And my second was getting ready to leave on his mission, and that anxiety just grew more inside me. it's something I'd always had. So you can only imagine if it's growing. Like I was nearing 50, and how does it even get to be more at that point? But it was. So I threw myself into my work, 100% into my work. I'm gonna just, I was managing an office, I had about 20 employees, and I just threw myself into them because that's gonna fill my bucket. I was just looking for that external validation and feeling, and of course I'm not going to get it. So that anxiety is just and my son left, and I just had my daughter left at home, and literally the week before this all went down, I got, no, the month maybe, I got 2 speeding tickets, like criminal speeding tickets. I'm talking like this was intense, right? And I didn't see it. I'm on the inside just spiraling, and I didn't know. So I went in to meet with my boss, the owner of this company, and had the most interesting and life-changing experience. I sat down for our regular meeting, and I got my backpack, and I said, "Do I need to get my computer out?" And he said, "Well, that depends." And I said, "Oh, you're letting me go." Blindside, out of nowhere, how those words came out of my mouth, I have no idea. And I just said, "Okay, let me show you, blah, 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 blah," and walked out totally fine. Have no idea. Like, this, for me, I believe in God, and this was a God thing, 100%, because I have no idea. That was a Friday. I called, that my assistant manager, and said, "Hey, he just let me go. Let me show you all the things." And she was like, "What?" And she kind of freaked out, and I was totally calm and fine. And I'm like, she's like, "We're going to go to the river." And anyway, it was a beautiful day. And she kind of, just, we hung out. And then Saturday I called a few more people, and Sunday I called a few more people. And then on Monday, um, my world came crashing down, and I laid on the couch and I cried all day. Um, I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what was next. And normally it's like, I told my husband, "Well, I'm just going to I'll get another job. I'll get a job this week. It'll be fine." And he said, "No." He said, "You're going to fix this. We're going to figure out what you need to make this better and okay for you." And he just knew that I was at the end of my rope. And I didn't even know at that point still that I was at the end of my rope. Um, so he said, "Why don't you find a retreat or something? Just get away, get away, take a deep breath, see how you can reconnect." And so the adventure side of me came out. I Googled retreat, and I found this retreat called Path of Love. And most retreats give you like the schedule every day. This is when you start. This is what you do. This is what you can expect. This one, I had to have an interview to see if I was even eligible to go to this retreat that I had to pay a lot of money to go to. I'm like, what? They wanted to make sure you had support for when you got home and all of this, but there was no schedule, nothing. You just go. So me, being the adventurer that I am, got on a little plane, went to Colorado, took an Uber to the mountains, and show up. I'm like, "Hey, how's it going? Okay, here, give us your phone." I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?" No phone, no technology, no TV, no radio, no nothing. And of course, you get a packing list, like bring a journal and whatever, but nothing, nothing. And then you go in this room and you sit, and they say, "Okay, let's go." And we're like, "Where are we going? What are we doing?" And mind you, my husband is at home having no idea also about what's going on, no way to connect with me. He's like, what is happening right now? So it was, it was an experience, but, um, all of that was part of the process, right? It is an experience that 1,000% changed my life. And my husband, bless his heart, paid for it, and it wasn't cheap. And I feel super blessed to be able to have the ability to go to that experience.
I want to
It
say
was,
I want to say this. You have mentioned that a few times, and that obviously was the big game changer for you. Like, it kind of kicked off this whole thing. And I'll put a plug in too for retreats in general. Marcy and I are so excited to kick off our retreats, and it's for that purpose. It's just to be able to provide that space and opportunity for women just to check out of the day-to-day chaos and just tune into their inner self and peace. And so we're really excited about that. The next retreat is in March. But I want to say, Alena, after that, I remember you reaching out to me and other family members, and you said, I want you to tell me what you really think of me. Like, be honest. And I'm like, what? Like, who does that? And who really, really is serious about it? Who really wants to know the truth, right? And not that I had anything terrible to say. I just was kind of shocked that you asked. And then I'm asking myself, is she really ready to hear what people are going to say? Like, because that would be crushing. You know, I don't care how good of a space you're in. That's difficult to hear how other people perceive you. But I just want to say that's like the moment that I looked at you and thought, holy crap, she's doing some big, hard things right now. And, you know, the feedback I gave you, I think, was just, you know, like, you're very, very honest and direct, and that's a an asset and or a strength and a weakness.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of times our strengths can be our weakness. And as long as we know about them and we can help others understand that about us, then that's huge. But you honestly, I feel like you took that feedback, and I don't know what you did internally and privately with that, but you just seem to just take that and make changes so quickly. And I've just been so impressed and in awe with how you have changed and handled yourself and have made so many great changes and improvements.
Thank you. That means so much to me, and I really appreciate that. I think through that retreat, and I agree, retreats and just taking time. The one thing I would say, and I hope to do retreat someday. I know I'm going to be with you at your retreat.
Yes.
I mean, they said we had to turn our phone ins, but there is something to just like having a phone basket and leaving your phone in there and turning it off. And if you need it, in like in other cases, maybe you know they go and get it. But going a week without my phone alone changed my relationship with my phone, and myself, honestly, which was so funny because I came home and I would leave it everywhere because I never like really cared if I had it, and I left it everywhere all the time. Sean's like, "Do you have your phone?" I'm like, "Do you have my phone? Because I don't really know where it is. I don't care." Um, but I think the retreat that I went to, it was very intensive. I mean, we were in silence the whole time unless we were in group doing work, which was pretty much intensive therapy group a work in a group setting. Um, so many amazing things came out of that. I have a at the end I drew a broken heart with a brick wall. I come from a family of masons. Um, and water kind of coming out over the brick wall and into the heart and through the broken heart and out. Um, I felt going into that I was buried in protectionism, and we all do it. We all are protecting ourselves. But my protectionism had gotten so intense that those brick walls had just, I remember laying on the closet floor, just feeling those bricks like coming on top of me and just hiding inside and underneath them. Um, and through that week in silence, that week in stillness, that week in therapy, really, I was able to break through that brick wall, and I really felt my heart break open. And in our religion, they say that Christ asks us to bring a broken heart and a contrite spirit. And I learned so many things through this retreat, but I learned what that meant. Allowing that emotion, allowing pain to flow through me, allowing, and to say, it's okay to have self compassion and empathy for myself and be able to say, totally makes sense that you would feel hurt right now. There might not always be somebody to say that to me, but I can say that to me. And as I allowed that emotion from my whole life and my divorce and my childhood and all of my experiences to flow through me and really let it be free and feel that emotion, I was really able to connect to that light and that divine nature, the divine spirit. I feel that's still there, Mercy. Sorry, I lost you guys for a minute there. Anyway, through that, I was able to do. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. We're back.
Through that, I was able to just connect within, and I was able to learn what being still in my mind and in my body and in my heart. And when I learned that, I was able to just connect within and really find my value in me and to me with my divine source, my heavenly parents, with God. And when I really learned what that meant and how that felt, I was able to, one of my friends in my retreat said, I'm trying to learn how to meditate. And I took my own Diet Coke because it was all health, like health food, farm to table, whatever. And I had to have my Diet Coke. And she said, you, you can, when you practice enough with meditation, you can get to the point that you can go to it like you can grabbing a can of Diet Coke. And I was like, what does that even mean? Like mind blown. I can just go to it like that. Uh, but but it's like going to the gym. It's just practicing and learning to be still, learning to not. And when I do that, I can go in, connect within, and then I can go to what really matters. When I get triggered, we all are going to get triggered. I don't have to go into protectionism. I can go, okay, how am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? I can feel it, let it move through me, take some deep breaths, meditate, even in the middle of a conversation with my husband. I promise it happens all the time. Uh, and then I don't have to react like I normally would. I don't have to hide in protectionism. I can ask people, what do you really think of me? Meditate, reflect, really know what that means to me, and then how can I learn and grow from it? I'm telling you, I'm on time. I'm never late. I'm running. I don't, I'm not running all the time. I'm not trying to outrun anything anymore. I'm just able to be. And what I would give now to have learned that 20 years ago when I was raising my children and living in anxiety and raising them in anxiety, right? Like learning and doing these retreats and taking time for yourself to just be. It feels maybe selfish in the moment because the kids have games and you're missing a swim meet or you're missing that. But if you take that time to really just slow down and connect within and reflect, and you're doing so many great things at your retreat that you have coming up that helps us to connect, we can go home and be better parents, better moms, better wives, better people, because we can sit, and hard things can come that may trigger us, but it's about us. It's not about the other person that we might feel upset with, right? Like, oh, I can't believe you said that, my husband. Well, that's because it triggered something in me. And does that really matter? And can really sit with it and not. And my poor husband, he's such a good man. I'm not throwing him under the bus, but anybody who's married knows we're married for that reason, right? To learn and grow and like find our way back to each other continually. And it's always a choice to do that. So it could be a friend, it could be somebody on the freeway. It doesn't really matter. But it's just learning how to take that time, and without practicing and without actually doing it. I couldn't do it for 50 years. I never even understood what it meant to connect within and to understand my emotions and work through these things. And once I went and did it for a week And it doesn't always take a week. Sometimes it can take 2 or 3 days, just enough time to know how to do it. Then you can do that when you come home. And, you know, it's chaos raising children. They're so, especially today, they're on their phone, they have sports, they have this, they have that. I mean, it's just go, 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 go. What if we taught our kids to be still? What if we taught our kids to just slow down and not be busy every minute? My kids have to be, that's how I raise them. Busy, busy, busy on their phone, doing this, doing that. Like, take a deep breath and let's just be and connect to who we really are. And then the things that really matter easily float to the surface.
I love so many beautiful lessons that you've learned. I'm grateful that you're sharing with us. And I love the biggest tool that you have been able to use is meditation, and I'm sure prayer, but meditation is something that you and breath work you're really specializing in. And I love that so much. I try to have my littles do a little meditation session with me a couple of years ago. Now, my husband is probably like a lot of husbands out there. He's like, he walks in the door, we're sitting in the living room, quietly meditating, and he's like, "What the heck are you guys doing?" And I'm like, "Why? We're meditating, and he's just like,
Yeah.
"What?" So then Bodie, I don't know how old he was at that time, like 11 years old, is like, he felt stupid. So he like hopped up. Nothing, nothing. I'm not doing anything. And I was like, "Hey," I was like, "Get back here. Let's finish." And he felt stupid the whole time. And then so afterwards, I had to have a talk with my husband and say, "Hey, you just shamed him. You just embarrassed him. And I'm trying to teach him how to do this and have quiet time and cope with things like, so I'm like, maybe I need to force you to do this, honey, so we have yet, like, I've tried to get him to come to meditation and sound baths with me, and he refuses. But maybe we can do like a cousin thing and get all the guys to come with us, right? And do this.
Yes.
He truly needs to learn the magic and the blessing of meditation and quiet time. But we do find that when we go to our cabin. So I'm like, okay, that's good enough for now. So
And nature is one of the best ways. I think you're not alone. So many men. My husband actually loves meditation, so I'm grateful for that. But it's hard. And especially we weren't raised that way. We were raised like you're burning daylight, get something done, like get moving. I
yeah,
remember saying that to our aunt, and she was like, "Why would you do that?" And I'm like, "Because it actually helps me a great deal." But
yeah.
I wouldn't have I wouldn't have been able to do it if somebody, like, I was forced to do it for a week. Like, this is just how what I kind of had to do. And so I think so many people I've tried to, as I share my story, want to try meditation and do it. And they're like, "Oh, I'm just not good at it." And, my husband and I have done a million things. Like, we went to marriage counseling, and one of the best things that this counselor told us was, "Hey, don't go home and expect to be good at this. You've sucked at it for 14 years. You're going to suck at it still." Like, it takes time and it takes practice, and you have to give yourself grace that this is something new I'm learning and I have to, take time. But I love that you did that with your kids, and kids are antsy and wiggly, and especially in this day and age, there's just no downtime. If they have downtime, they're on their phone, right? So it's a foreign concept, and it's not something we can expect to just be great at initially. But when I go to the gym and I lift weights, I'm not great at it either. And I come home, I'm really sore. So I kind of, relate it to that. Like, it just takes time,
Yeah.
and they're going out in nature. What I love about nature meditation is that it's always there for us. The sun, the earth, the air, the trees. God gave all of that to us in abundance with no question of worthiness. Like, we don't ever have to be worthy of that. We can just go out and feel that all of those elements around us that are given to us, no matter where we're at or what we're doing, we're always worthy of it. And so that's how we live. And that's always such a great reminder to me when I go on walks, when I'm out in nature, or can sit and just have that peace in nature like you get at your cabin.
Def-
It's hard to get.
yeah. I love that you said give ourselves grace. I think that's something we hear, but we don't always do. And our whole life, this whole life, we cannot expect to be perfect at anything because we are truly learning every single day. We've never done, what we're doing tomorrow, and we're experiencing so many things for the first time and just learning and growing. And so we have to give ourselves grace and our family and friends around us grace. And I think that's a great piece of advice that you have left us with today. And I truly appreciate you taking time to share your story. I do believe that it will help others. For me, we had you on one of our coaching calls, and one thing that you started out kind of saying, like, when your kids all left, you just kind of felt like, what is my purpose? I'm not needed as a mom anymore. And of course, I'm sure you've learned since then, like, yeah, you're always needed as a mom, but like your role kind of changes, and you're not controlling, the situation so much anymore. And so that was very enlightening for me, just because I never really thought about that side of things. And so, so many things you shared today are going to be helpful to our listeners, and I appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to do a fun little speed round with you and
Okay.
ask you some fun questions so we can get to know you a little bit better. Okay, so what is a song that you play that energizes you?
Oh, well, right now, anything from Walker Hayes, I love him, but I think consistently, Ice Ice Baby has always been a thing since we were kids. So I love that one.
That's
Okay, I
awesome.
love, yes, for sure. Okay, what's a gift on your Christmas list this year?
Uh, this year, this is such a mom answer. And this tells you, empty nester mom, family pictures would be the top of my list. Getting my 20s together is like impossible. A week in Hawaii would be great too, but I think family pictures would top the list.
Okay, so pictures in Hawaii. Yes.
Yeah, there you go. That's even better.
Okay, what age have you liked the best in your lifetime?
Oh, that's a tough one. Honestly, this age is pretty good. I do really miss my kids. They're all in their 20s and they're scattered. So I would say probably 45. I'm going to pick 45. Kind of teenage years, a lot of chaos, kids coming and going. It was really fun.
Yeah, that's great. And if you could start a business, what would that be?
Yeah, just clearly I have a passion for meditation, sound bath, any kind of way to help people connect within would be where I hope to go in my future, starting a business doing that.
Love it. And what is something on your bucket list that you think you will accomplish in the next year?
Well, I can happily say that we are going to Thailand in a couple of weeks for Thailand and Cambodia for like almost 2.5 weeks. So
Oh,
total bucket list, see the elephants and, hang out with them. And yeah, there's a lot there that I am so excited
That's
to do. So
amazing. I'm so jealous. I always want to ride an elephant. So,
me too.
yes.
Yeah, so
yay.
fun.
Hear all about that. And lastly, who is your celebrity girl crush?
Yeah, girl crush. Well, does that mean a girl I crush on or a boy I crush
Girl
on?
that you envy.
Taylor Swift for sure. I feel like she's held her integrity and she's, endured tons of stardom and fame and still gives regularly. And I think the world of her. She's done a great job. So celebrity girl crush, Taylor Swift.
Love it.
Celebrity boy crush. There's a long list. So we'll be glad we didn't get into that.
Okay, sounds good. We'll save that for the future. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us, everyone. Thank you, Alena, for joining us. Listeners, we'll be back next week with a new guest, and we'll see you then.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. If you feel in your heart to be a part of our community for women, check us out at her.community.